Hey, what's going on, guys? So earlier this week, or I guess last week depending on when I upload this, after nearly a year and a half of Insomniac Games blue balling us with that announcement trailer for Marvel Spider-Man 2 and just not giving us anything else, we finally have gameplay footage, and honestly, it looks like the best Spider-Man game since the last one. Because let's be honest, Spider-Man games are like Green Day. When they're good, they're really good. And when they're bad, yeah, they're still pretty damn good. And given what we've seen of this game in the showcase demo, I'm very excited. But a little worried here and there in some places. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. And I've already done a live stream reaction to the demo, so if you want to check that out, I'll have a title card that can link you to the live stream. But without further ado, so the first major thing that this game has going for it, Kraven. Kraven's a character who I think you can play in one or two ways. As a complete joke who nobody takes seriously, or as a terrifying master tactician. And I'm glad that they're going for the latter. I mean, I like the former because I grew up on Ultimate Spider-Man by Bendis and Bagley, so I'm sort of conditioned to see Kraven as like this loser, dipshit, knockoff brand Steve Irwin. But I like that they're going in the more menacing direction in this game. It is weird that I've heard Kraven's Last Hunt in reference to this take on the character. I mean, I get that it's the big Kraven story. I mean, it's also the last Kraven story. And no, I don't count any of that shit that happened after he came back to life. But Kraven's Last Hunt works in the comics because Spider-Man was that ultimate hunt. You know, he kept besting him for years on end. So by the time Kraven finally did manage to get one over on Spider-Man, it's not just, ooh wee, I got him. There's this weird, obsessive, psychosexual tension that Kraven has with Spider-Man, where he has to bury him and mourn him, and he has to wear his skin, you know, like he has to be inside of Spider-Man. It's a very special occasion for him. Kraven's Last Hunt is a very weird story, and I don't see Insomniac adapting any of that weird shit for their AAA blockbuster mainstream video game for a mass audience. The way the demo was set up, the cinematic that plays at the beginning establishes that Kraven is old and he's looking for a worthy foe. And I think Spider-Man is going to wind up being his swan song, and I'm cool with that interpretation. I also love his design. He's built like a fucking concrete slab of human perfection. I wonder if Insomniac is going to go with the whole, yeah, he's the pinnacle of human discipline and blah 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 blah. Or if they're going to go with the original gimmick that he's more or less a super soldier because he's addicted to this African witch doctor juice. Either works. I'm just excited to see how the boss fight plays out. And then there's the map. The map is bigger, and bigger is always better. And the devs really went the extra mile here. I was not expecting them to add two whole-ass New York City boroughs to the map with Queens and Brooklyn, yet here we are. And the gameplay opens with Spider-Man Parker Face fighting a bunch of Kraven's henchmen in Queens, which I originally figured was Peter's childhood backyard, but then I heard somewhere that it's supposed to be the Lizard's house, which honestly makes sense because Kraven's men are hunting the Lizard when the demo begins. And that honestly really excites me, because even going back to the first Insomniac Spider-Man game, that was one of the things that I wanted to see. I wanted to be able to explore some of the other boroughs of New York City. And the last time we've really been able to do that was in Ultimate Spider-Man for the PS2 back in 2005. But given the scale and detail that that first game's map was working with, I guess we just weren't technologically there yet. But we are now, and I guess that's why this is going to be a PS5 exclusive. And speaking of detail, Manhattan looks like it's undergone some slight changes here and there. I think that fish market that we see Spider-Miles investigating while looking for the Lizard is a new location, which I'm sure is like the Osborn Apple Store from the Miles Morales game. It's going to be treated like it was always there, and you're crazy if you didn't notice it in the first game. But just overall, Manhattan looks like it's generally the same with some extra grime and grit sprinkled in there to give it a more realistic, lived-in quality. Also, just looking at how Peter and Miles traverse the map in this demo, it makes sense why the map is expanded. These guys are covering a lot of ground in not a lot of time. And it looks like we got some traversal upgrades in the form of a slingshot and gliding, which I don't really know how to feel about the latter just yet. The gamer in me is excited for the new gameplay options that it presents, but the comic book neckbeard in me is just screaming, crying, and throwing up, because yes, while Spider-Man has always had the web wings in the comics, even going back to his first appearance, they were not functional. They were aesthetic. But then Spider-Man Homecoming brings them back, and then gives them a function as a means to turn the Spider-Man suit into like a flying squirrel costume. And I can't say that I was 100% down with that idea, but I think for the sake of gameplay, this unlocks a whole new dimension of traversal, and it's something that we honestly haven't seen implemented in a Spider-Man game before, and I'm interested to see how it works out here. We're also going to be able to switch characters in this game, and that's a refreshing change of pace, because we haven't been able to do that in a Spider-Man game since Spider-Man Edge of Time, and we haven't been able to do that in an open-world Spider-Man game, again, since Ultimate Spider-Man. And we are 2 for 2 with the Ultimate Spider-Man comparison so far. Now, this was almost a foregone conclusion after Miles got his own game, and it's nice to see that that is, in fact, the case. Peter and Miles, despite generally playing similarly, are different enough in terms of combat and stealth that it'll be interesting to see if you can do combat and stealth challenges over again with one or the other, and see how different the experience is. I still don't know for the life of me what electricity has to do with being a spider. Like, Miles' powers make no fucking sense to me at all. I always just assumed that the Venom Strike in the comics was like a little tactile, kinetic, nervous system attack or some shit. But no, he's just Static Spider, or Spider Shock, because all black people have to have electricity powers in comics. That's just, I guess them's just the rules that nobody officially wrote, but there they are. We also got to see how different some of the combat mechanics look in this game compared to the first and Miles Morales. There's like Final Fantasy-esque special attacks, and I'm interested to see how that works. I also wonder what those special attacks look like when Peter isn't blacked and you're just playing as regular Spider-Man, which I guess will address the big black elephant in the room. Miles Morales, his predecessor's black suit. As soon as Peter jumps onto the scene and the symbiote takes hold, this man starts using tendril attacks and whipping people with symbiote tentacles and sliding across the ground like a hentai demon covered in burnt grease. Look, I started getting flashbacks to Web of Shadows, and I started getting flashbacks to Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. And okay, this is kind of the inherent problem with Spider-Man games. Spider-Man has had more video game adaptations than any other superhero, so naturally, there's not a lot of uncharted ground at this point. Insomniac are even doing the bit where Peter gets more aggressive and hostile while he's wearing the black suit, just like every other adaptation of the Black Suit Saga since the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, which I've already made a video on. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't like this costume. I see what they're going for. The black suit looks like it's trying to mimic Peter's advanced suit and have armor over the places where Peter wants to be the most protected, and the slimy parts are where Peter wants to have a better range of motion. And I've actually heard some claims that the black suit in this game was inspired by the Xenomorph from Ridley Scott's Alien. And that's a really cool thought that shows that somebody's thinking about things, and I really appreciate that. But I still don't like it. It looks like a burnt leather daddy outfit with severed ball sacks dipped in marmalade slathered across Peter's inner arms and the back of his neck. And I'm sure there's gonna be like 800 different costume variations, but like, I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. You watch this channel because you want to know how I feel, and that's just how I feel. As for the whole Venom combat with the tendrils and all, I feel the same way about them as I do the web wings. Not a fan as a comic book dork, but holy shit, the gameplay is going to be dynamic, and I cannot wait. This is the duality of man. I also noticed during the chase scene on the East River, I don't know, I'm not from New York, I don't know these things, but I noticed that some of the buoys are colored red and some of them are colored green. So I'm interested to see if there's a gameplay reason for that. And speaking of which, I'm curious to see if the other Boros present different traversal mechanics. But yeah, the gameplay showcase definitely did its job, and it definitely got me excited to play this game. But all that said, here's the important question. Do you think the symbiote's going to be an alien or a test tube miracle cure biosuit? I'm hoping for the latter, because again, I have a bias towards Ultimate Spider-Man, but that's just me. Anyways, let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share and support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe and hit the bell for notifications when I upload my next video. And as always, until next time, take care guys. Adios nachos, adios.